The Beth and Rip spin-off, gone, just like that. The project fans were counting down to, has been pulled off the table. And the reason why might be more complicated, and more heartbreaking than anyone expected. Beth Dutton and Rip Wheeler aren't just characters in Yellowstone. Too many fans, they are the beating heart of the show. Beth, with her razor-sharp tongue and untouchable confidence, and Rip, with his quiet strength and unshakable loyalty, have created one of television's most intense and unforgettable love stories. Together, they've been through fights, betrayals, tragedies, and moments of pure devotion that have left viewers both breathless and emotionally wrecked. So when word first broke that Paramount was planning a dedicated spin-off, focusing on Beth and Rip's life beyond the Yellowstone ranch, it didn't just sound like another TV show, it sounded like a gift. A chance to see these two outside the chaos of the Dutton family war. Maybe it would explore their early years, or maybe it would show us what happens after the dust finally settles in the main series. Fans lit up message boards and social media with theories, from the idea of a prequel-style romance set before season 1, to a gritty standalone drama showing them carving out their own life away from John Dutton's shadow. The announcement itself had been quiet but impactful. No flashy trailer, no long-winded press release, just a few hints dropped in interviews and a short confirmation from sources close to the production that yes, a Beth and Rip series was in development. That phrase alone sent Yellowstone fans into a frenzy. For weeks, speculation videos dominated YouTube. Reddit threads were flooded with guesses about storylines. And on Instagram, fan-made posters of Beth and Rip. The series began popping up everywhere, with Kelly Riley and Cole Hauser's faces front and center. It wasn't just hype, there was a sense of inevitability. After all, Yellowstone had already proven it could expand its universe successfully. Prequels like 1883 and 1923 had pulled in massive audiences, and Paramount had made it clear they wanted more spin-offs to keep the Dutton name alive on screen for years. A Beth and Rip show felt like a guaranteed win. These weren't side characters, these were the fan favorites. The ones that even casual viewers talked about long after the credits rolled. But behind all that excitement, things weren't as solid as they seemed. What fans didn't know was that the project was still in its earliest planning stages, and in Hollywood, early stages are fragile. Scripts can change. Budgets can shrink. Creative visions can clash before a single scene is filmed. And unfortunately, that's exactly what happened here. The truth is, this spin-off was never officially given the full green light. It had a concept, a pitch, and two beloved actors who seemed interested. But it didn't yet have the guaranteed studio backing it needed. Still, to fans, it felt real enough to start celebrating. And maybe that's why the cancellation hit so much harder, because in their minds, the Beth and Rip series was already on its way. Now, instead of counting down to a premiere date, Yellowstone fans are left with a giant question. Why would Paramount walk away from something that seemed like an obvious hit? The answer isn't simple. And it's not just about money. Over the next sections, we'll dig deeper into what really happened, from creative roadblocks to behind-the-scenes politics, and why this cancellation could be a bigger deal for Yellowstone's future than anyone realizes. Then it happened. The news broke, not with a glamorous press conference, not with an official Paramount announcement, but in the most abrupt way possible. A quiet slip into a trade article. A single line buried in an interview. The Beth and Rip spin-off. No longer in active development. Just like that. No trailers. No scripts sent to actors. No sets built. It was gone before it ever really began. At first, many fans thought it was a mistake. Surely, this couldn't be right. This was the most anticipated Yellowstone-related project since the original show itself. Why would Paramount cut something that had such built-in popularity? People began scouring the internet for confirmation. Some swore they'd seen earlier reports saying filming was set to start soon. Others pointed out that Kelly Riley and Cole Hauser had spoken positively about the idea in past interviews, but here it was in black and white. The project had been shelved. And here's the kicker, there was no official, clear reason given. No statement from Taylor Sheridan, the creator of Yellowstone. No heartfelt message from the cast saying, sorry, but it didn't work out. Just silence. And in that silence, the rumor mill kicked into overdrive. For fans who have been following the Yellowstone universe closely, this kind of sudden change isn't unheard of. Television production can be messy. schedules can fall apart. Studio priorities can shift overnight. But what makes this different is the emotional weight behind it. Beth and Rip aren't just characters, they're a phenomenon. Their relationship is one of the main reasons Yellowstone went from a Western drama into a full-on pop culture giant. To cancel a project centered entirely on them feels like pulling the rug out from under the audience. Industry insiders began whispering about conflicting visions for the show. Some said Taylor Sheridan wanted a darker, slower-paced series, something more character-driven, exploring Beth and Rip's complex dynamic without the sprawling cattle wars and land disputes. But others claimed the studio wanted a more action-heavy spin-off, packed with the kind of intense, fast-paced drama that could hook casual viewers. When those visions didn't align, the momentum for the show simply evaporated. Then there's the other theory, timing. Yellowstone itself is in the middle of big changes. With the main series heading toward its final stretch and multiple other spin-offs in production or development, Paramount might have felt it was too much to juggle at once. After all, launching a Beth and Rip series while the main show is still wrapping up could risk oversaturating the brand. Whatever the reason, the result is the same. Fans have been left with nothing but what-ifs. What would the opening episode have looked like? Would we have seen their wedding night? Their first years together on the ranch? Or maybe even a heartbreaking finale where they finally leave Yellowstone for good? Now, those moments exist only in fanfiction and speculation. But here's the thing. Cancellations in Hollywood aren't always permanent. Projects can be revived years later. Cast members can push to make them happen. And Taylor Sheridan is known for keeping storylines alive in unexpected ways. Which means the Beth and Rip spin-off might not be dead forever. Just sleeping, still. The immediate sting of this news can't be ignored. It's not just about losing a series. It's about losing the promise of seeing two of the most beloved characters get the spotlight they deserve. And for Yellowstone fans, that's a hard pill to swallow. When a show disappears before it's even made, there's almost never one single reason. Usually, it's a mix of creative, financial, and timing issues. And with Yellowstone, all three could be at play. The Beth and Rip spin-off may have looked like a guaranteed hit from the outside. But behind the scenes, cracks may have started to form long before the cancellation was announced. Reason number 1. Creative differences. If there's one thing Taylor Sheridan is known for, it's having a very clear vision for his stories. He doesn't just hand scripts over to the studio and let them rewrite them to fit a marketing plan. That's part of why Yellowstone has such a distinct style, gritty, unfiltered, and unapologetic. But that same strength can lead to conflict. According to whispers from people close to the production, Sheridan wanted the Beth and Rip spin-off to dig deep into their psychology. Less about land wars, more about the raw, messy, and sometimes brutal love between these two characters. The studio, on the other hand, may have been pushing for something faster, more action-packed, the kind of show that could grab casual viewers who might not even be Yellowstone fans. Those two ideas are very different shows. And if neither side was willing to compromise, the easiest solution was to walk away before wasting millions on a project doomed to fight itself. Reason number 2. Scheduling and actor commitments. Kelly Reilly and Cole Hauser aren't just sitting around waiting for Yellowstone scripts. They have other projects, other contracts, and personal lives. Filming a new series would mean locking both of them into months of shooting, possibly in remote locations, while they're still needed for Yellowstone's final episodes. Add in the fact that other spin-offs, like the rumored Matthew McConaughey series, are already fighting for filming space and crew. And you've got a scheduling nightmare. Reason number 3. Franchise strategy shift. This might be the least dramatic reason, but possibly the most logical. The Yellowstone universe is growing fast, maybe too fast. With 1883 and 1923 already out, and more spin-offs planned, the studio might have decided to streamline the brand. They could have seen the Beth and Rip spin-off as too niche, appealing mostly to hardcore fans rather than a wider audience. There's also the possibility that elements of the Beth and Rip story will now be folded into another spin-off, or even a feature film. If that's the case, Paramount may have simply decided it made more sense to keep all the big characters in fewer projects rather than spreading them out across too many shows. Reason number 4. Budget concerns. Yellowstone isn't a cheap show to make. Between the cast salaries, the massive sets, the real ranch locations, and the expensive stunt work. Each episode is a multi-million-dollar investment. Launching a spin-off with two of the main stars wouldn't come cheap, and if the studio wasn't sure it would pull in enough new viewers, they may have decided the risk wasn't worth it. Asterisk, the sad truth is, every one of these reasons could have played a role. Hollywood decisions are rarely black and white. It's often a chain reaction. A creative disagreement triggers a delay. The delay causes scheduling conflicts, and the whole thing collapses under its own weight. Asterisk for fans. Though the why doesn't take away the disappointment. Theories can fill YouTube comments sections and Reddit threads for months, but they won't bring the show back. Still, understanding the possible reasons helps make sense of how something that seemed so inevitable could vanish overnight. The moment the cancellation news started to spread, Yellowstone's online fan base exploded. Twitter threads lit up with disbelief. Instagram stories filled with screenshots of the headlines. Facebook groups dedicated to the show began posting in all caps, "This can't be real." For many fans, Beth and Rip aren't just characters, they're the reason they watch Yellowstone at all. To hear that a whole series centered on them was gone before it even began felt like a personal loss. Asterisk, in fan forums, you could feel the mix of emotions. Some were angry, blaming Paramount for not listening to the audience. Others pointed the finger at Taylor Sheridan, assuming he had walked away from the project on purpose. And then there were the heartbroken ones, the people who had been daydreaming about seeing Beth and Rip's wedding life. Their adventures away from the Dutton drama, maybe even a softer side of the couple that the main series never had time to explore. The comments were raw and unfiltered. They are Yellowstone. No one cares about spin-offs without them. Asterisk, we've been loyal to this show for years. This feels like a slap in the face. Asterisk, I would have subscribed to Paramount Plus just for this. Huge mistake. Asterisk, memes also started flooding social media, some funny, some bitter. One popular post showed a picture of Beth with her signature glare and the caption, "Paramount, I'm coming for you." Another had Rip tipping his cowboy hat with the words, "Guess you'll never know our story." Asterisk, but beyond the initial wave of outrage and disappointment, the cancellation raises a bigger question. What does this mean for Yellowstone's future? The main series is already heading toward its final chapter. And without the Beth and Rip spin-off, the path forward for two of its most beloved characters feels uncertain. Asterisk, some industry watchers believe that scrapping the spin-off doesn't necessarily mean Beth and Rip's story is over. Instead, their arcs might be woven more deeply into the last episodes of Yellowstone or even into a planned film adaptation that's rumored to be on the table. That way, Paramount keeps the characters in the spotlight without committing to a whole new series. Asterisk, others worry this could be a sign that the studio is shifting away from focusing on individual character spin-offs altogether. If that's true, we might see fewer deeply personal side stories and more broad ensemble-driven shows like 1923, which appeal to a wider audience but don't offer the same intimate focus that Beth and Rip's relationship would have delivered. Asterisk, Taylor Sheridan has stayed silent on the subject, which only fuels speculation. If his creative control was the reason for the spin-off's demise, he might still find a way to bring Beth and Rip back into the fold in a way that satisfies him creatively and keeps the studio happy. Asterisk, for now, though, all fans can do is wait to see how Yellowstone's final act treats Beth and Rip. Wait to hear if there's any chance of the spin-off being revived down the line. In television, nothing is ever truly final until it's been buried for good. And even then, Sheridan has a way of digging it back up when no one expects it. Asterisk, until then, Beth and Rip's story stays right where it began, in the heart of Yellowstone. And maybe, just maybe, that's where it's meant to stay. For now, asterisk.